Screen printing onto dark garments is something that every screen printer tries to perfect. In this instructional video, we're going to show you some great tips for screen printing white onto dark garments using our new Epic Lava Plastisol Whites from Wilflex. Always keep in mind that the better quality garment you print on, the better quality print you will create. Ring spun or cone cotton garments have a tighter weave and smoother printing surface and will always result in a better looking print. If you're wanting to print on a heavier weight carded cotton tee, but still get a great result, I do recommend printing on a higher quality carded cotton tee like this Hanes Beefy tee. If you're printing on 100% or a high percentage cotton garment, you can use a thinner, more cost-effective ink. In this case, Ryonet's Epic Lava Meteor White by Wilflex. However, if you're going on a blended garment that has poly fabric in it, you'll want to use a low bleed ink like Ryonet's Epic Lava Low Bleed White by Wilflex. Picking the right screen is also very important, so here are some things to keep in mind. The mesh count of your screen, or how many threads cross per square inch, will determine how much ink passes onto your garment. For white ink on a dark garment, you'll want to use somewhere between 110 and 200 mesh screen. Thread diameter of your mesh can also affect your finished print. Lower cost screens tend to have a larger thread, which reduces the amount of ink laid down when printing. There are also higher end thin thread meshes, which will let more ink through the same relative mesh size. Screen tension is also very important. A screen is like a trampoline. Thicker white inks require tighter screens to pop back up after the squeegee passes, leaving a good ink deposit on your garment. Finally, your emulsion EOM or emulsion over mesh dictates the inkwell and the ink deposit onto your garment. To lay down more ink, create a thicker stencil. For our emulsion coat in this video, we're going to be using a 3/2 coating method with the round side of the scoop coater. This lays more emulsion down, which lays more ink down. In this video, we're using two different types of screens. For our manual print, we're using a static 110 mesh. This screen uses standard mesh and comes in around 25 newtons. I definitely would recommend a little higher newtons, not anything lower than 19. For our automatic screen, we're going to be using an S thread, which is a 158 mesh screen on a solid lock screen. Because this is a special stretch solid lock screen, this comes in around 30 newtons and will deposit a much better ink. We're going to be printing this simple one-color vector art using our Riley Hopkins manual press and our Rock automatic screen printing press. When setting up our press, off contact is important. However, if we have higher tension and thinner inks, we can lower that a little bit. For this print, we're setting our off contact to about 1/8 inch. Prior to printing, it's best practice to modulate your ink by stirring it. You can do this by hand or with a mixing drill. For our squeegee selection, on the manual press we're using a standard 70 durometer squeegee, but for the Rock automatic we're using a triple durometer. This allows the Rock automatic to perform faster with a softer edge to control the ink, but a stiffer center to maintain the squeegee's integrity at a slightly lower angle of the blade. For our squeegee setup, we go with a lower angle, and we're going to be using a medium pressure. 15 to 20 degrees works well for this, as well as a medium pressure on the Rock between 35 to 50 pounds. You don't want to use too much pressure because you can push the ink through the garment and not do a good job of matting the fibers down. The goal here is one squeegee stroke with a nice fiber mat down on top of the garment for a smooth base. If your squeegee, the angle, the pressure, screen tension, and EOM are not ideal for white ink printing, this can waste production time by having to do multiple passes, which also wastes product. My settings on the Rock for this print are 5mm off contact, 17-degree squeegee angle, 35 psi, which clears beautifully after one pass with a medium print speed. Here you can see the same print using the same settings on our Rock automatic, using our Lava Low Bleed White, first on a Bella Canvas ring spun shirt, and next on a Hanes Beefy tee. You see both look great after one pass, but the ring spun does look better. Instead of trying to do a one-hit white, laying all the ink down at once, I think the best whites use two thinner layers of white, using one hit, flash, then another hit after the flash cool down. You can either create a second screen using the same mesh count, or maybe a slightly higher mesh count, because the second layer of ink doesn't need to be as thick to maintain the brightness. Or you can use the press in rotary mode and send the press around for the second print. Having two screens for longer runs is smarter and faster for production. On a manual press, we'll be printing the same shirts using the Lava Meteor White for cotton. We'll be using a pull method of the squeegee and about a 70-degree angle with a medium pressure. I personally like the pull because I feel you have more control over the ink deposit when you're printing white ink. In the same way as the auto, our goal is one pass, a quick flash, and then a second pass. The new Wilflex version, a Meteor White, flashes faster than before and also does an awesome job of matting down the fibers for a nice, flat, matte-looking print. Here are some things to keep in mind as you're dialing in your prints. First and foremost is fiber mat down. If your print looks fuzzy, here are a few things to work at. Remember, the goal is a proper deposit and release from the screen. If your screen is tight and you have good off contact and a good emulsion stencil, you should see the screen pop up after making the print stroke. As the screen pops up, it leaves your ink deposit on the garment below. Try different squeegee angles and pressure. Remember, too heavy drives the ink into the garment and past the fibers, so it leaves them sticking up. And too little pressure won't release the ink from the screen. Make sure to warm your platens before printing and modulate your ink. Both of these will help your ink flow and smooth out your print. If that isn't working, here are some tips. First of all, you can add a second pass to get those fibers to mat down a little bit better with your undercoat. And second, you can try printing on a ring spun garment versus a carded cotton garment. The ring spun garment has a better printing base and your print will be brighter and smoother. You can also add a roller squeegee with a Teflon screen, which flattens down your base and gives an amazing coat to print the second layer on. Better yet, you can use the rock iron, which not only flattens the print, but uses heat as well. The iron makes just about any print look amazing. Your end result should be a soft hand, smooth, bright white print. Using the right tools and processes can get you there. Check out these two awesome updated inks now manufactured exclusively for Ryonet by Wilflex, available on screenprinting.com. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great screen printing videos.